What's going on, guys? It's Elkonn here, and we're back on Brave Order. And yes, I'm finally able to do this video. I know a lot of you have been wanting it, and I'm really sorry I haven't gotten it out sooner, but I've been sick lately, so I really haven't been able to record much of anything. But yes, we're going to be getting into the best abilities to use for free-to-play players and pay-to-win players for you guys to create a super overpowered combo, do a ton of damage, and or be able to defeat the bosses and enemies a lot quicker. So that's what we're doing today. If you guys do end up enjoying this video, then make sure to smash the like button and click that subscribe button for more videos just like this one. Without further ado, let's get on into it. If you clicked on this video not knowing what abilities are, don't worry, because I'm going to give you the information that you need right now. So all you got to do is head over to the left side of your screen. Right above inventory, you're going to see a tab called abilities. It's going to open up the screen that gives you a bunch of abilities, and what these actually do is either increase your stats or give you some sort of effect to help you in dungeons or battles. Now, for example, if I go over here to ranged buff, you can see I have an ability here called Extra Bullet 1. If I equip this, what this actually does is adds one bullet to each shot fired. So instead of firing one bullet out of my gun, it's going to fire two. Another great example of an ability is go down here to common buff. If I equip this damage up ability, it's going to increase my damage by 5%. So you pretty much get the gist of what abilities do. Let's get into the best abilities that I recommend for free-to-play players and pay-to-win players. I'm just going to show you guys a bunch of abilities that I definitely recommend that you could put in a combination. It all depends on what you want to go for. Do you want to go for Guardian mode or do you want to do dungeons? They all are different because Guardian mode is a mix of close range and long range, and dungeons is pretty much all close range. Now, you definitely could use long range abilities, which I always do. I never use close range abilities, but it's pretty much the standard of what you want to use on whichever situation you're in. Like I said, I'm going to show you guys the best abilities that I recommend for each and every mode. So either dungeon and or Guardian mode. The first one we're going to get into is ranged buff, and we're going to get into Guardian mode first and what I actually use. Now, the abilities I use for Guardian mode, first off, we got Death Burst. I love this ability so much, and it is so good depending on your attack power too, but this combination with like Extra Bullet 1, Extra Bullet 2, Bouncing Bullet 1 or Bouncing Bullet 2 is super overpowered, because what Death Burst actually does is once you defeat an enemy, it splits your bullet into 8 different bullets going into 8 different directions, and then it defeats more enemies. Once it defeats more enemies, it activates another Death Burst on top of that, and it's just super overpowered. Instead of having 8 bullets flying around, you're gonna have like 16, 24. It's just super overpowered, and it does a lot of damage as well. Now, the reason I say mix that with Extra Bullet 1 and 2 is because, well, the extra bullets, once they hit enemies, it's going to activate Death Burst again, and it's going to shoot more bullets around. You understand what I'm trying to say? It's going to do a lot of damage overall. Same with Bouncing Bullet 1 and 2. It's just able to hit more enemies a lot quicker. Now, if you're someone who likes to do a lot of close range and run after the enemies and, like, you know, watch the orbs hit him and stuff like that, then I definitely recommend using all the orb abilities. Now, for ranged buff, I would definitely recommend using like ranged up and then using 2 times, because 2 times doubles your surrounding orbs, and ranged up extends the radius of your surrounding orbs. So if you want to get your orbs out there a little further and not be super close to your character, then you can extend the range that your orbs actually go. Now, the reason I say using 2 times is really good is because if you head over here to ranged and you equip 2 orb abilities, what this is actually going to do, instead of having 4 orbs surrounding your character, you're going to have 8 orbs surrounding your character. Or if you even have more orbs selected and you're like pay to win and have 4 slots, then you're gonna have a bunch of orbs around you and doing a lot of damage. But that's pretty much it for ranged buff for me. All the other abilities I don't really use. Speed up is a good one for orbs as well. I did forget that, but all the other ones I just don't personally use and I don't really care about. Slowdown is all right. It releases the sigil every 5 attacks. It's kind of mid. It doesn't really do too much, so I don't really recommend that at all. Sword damage up, I can't really get into that, but I don't use swords either, so I don't really recommend that one either. Personally, I don't recommend orbs or swords. I don't like them at all, and they don't do enough damage for me. Now let's get into ranged. Now, speaking of Death Burst from ranged buff, I definitely recommend comboing this with Multi-Shot 1 and Multi-Shot 2. That's really good for Guardian mode, especially if you want to get a lot of bullets across and be able to defeat a lot of enemies. Those are definitely 2 good abilities to use with Death Burst. Now, abilities people actually do sleep on is Lightning Bullet, Freezing Bullet, and Burning Bullet. They are actually so good because you got to think the amount of bullets you're actually firing is going to have that effect on them. So if you have like, you know, 3 or 4 bullets firing at once, you're going to have 20% burning damage on all of them, or lightning damage, or freezing damage. All that types of stuff is going to be on those bullets that you're firing. Lightning Bullet is super good for 10% lightning damage, and it also does chain damage. So instead of just attacking one enemy, you're going to be attacking multiple enemies, especially if there's enemies nearby. Now, Parallel Bullet, I don't really care too much about, but that's actually really good for dungeon. Now, Guardian mode, it's not really the greatest, but definitely in dungeons, it is super good because that's 2 bullets flying straight at the enemies because they only spawn in one direction. so it's definitely going to be great for dungeon. That's also a good one to combo with death burst in dungeon as well. Now, like I said, I don't really care for orbs or swords. Now, a really good ability that's good for dungeons and not so much guardian mode is death explosion. Now, what Death Explosion actually does is once you defeat an enemy, it's going to inflict 25% of your total attack power on your character to all nearby enemies. So once you defeat an enemy, it's going to make a massive explosion of 25% of your total attack power, and it's going to do a ton of damage. Now, this ability is not good for bosses whatsoever, but it's really good for getting to those other minimal floors. If you're someone that likes to use orbs and swords, shurikens is really good as well. It's not that bad, but it's basically the same as orbs and swords. Now onto common buff. Now, what a lot of people think is damage up is the best abilities to use. Now, yes, it does help you do more damage, but what you got to think about is the long run. So I definitely recommend using attack speed. Both of them, actually. Both of them are actually insane, because the first one increases your firing speed by 12.50%, and then major attack speed increases your firing speed by 25%. Right there is 37.50% firing speed if you have both of them equipped. And you got to think, the more attack speed you're doing, the more damage you're doing overall, because you keep hitting him over and over with that fast firing speed. So you're going to do a lot more damage than what damage up can actually do. Dodge is an okay common buff, but I mean, really, you can just dodge yourself without having to actually use that ability, because it's only a 10% chance that you dodge attacks, and it's not going to be common. Just dodge them yourself, move around, and make sure to move away from the attacks. Increasing your movement speed is alright. It's not really a needed thing. Most mounts already have movement speed in there, so you don't really need to have this equipped. I feel like it just takes up an extra slot, but if you want to move faster, then this is a good one to use. Now, crit up is a really good ability to combo with either attack speed or damage up. Now, the reason I say that is because if you combo it up with damage up, it's going to increase your overall damage by 5%. And what crit up actually does is it increases your chances of hitting a critical shot by 5% and increases the overall critical damage that you would do from a critical shot by 20%. And whatever damage up ability you use, whether it's the major one or the normal one, it's still going to increase your damage by a good bit. Now, the reason I say comboing it up with attack speed is really good is because the more firing speed you have is the more chance you'll actually hit a critical shot, doing more damage, of course. Now, burning damage up and poisoning damage up, I feel like just takes up an extra slot, because it's only useful for like burning bullets or burning orb or poisoning orbs or poisoning swords or like burning swords, all that type of stuff. It's only going to increase the amount of burning and poisoning damage it does, so it's all right, but it's only good if you plan on using those type of orbs or like bullets or that type of stuff. Now, if you guys want to use the same exact abilities that I use, you're more than welcome to, so I'll quickly show you guys exactly what I use. Now, of course, I have 3 slots on each end, so it's not really going to be great for free-to-play players, but you could use 2 of them in each of your slots, so do whatever you want. It's totally up to you. But for ranged buff, I use extra bullet 1, extra bullet 2, and bouncing bullet 1. In my ranged, I use burning bullet, multi-shot 1, and then death explosion. And then in common buff, I use firing speed up, major attack speed up, and then I use major damage up. So that's pretty much all the abilities I use. You're more than welcome to copy them, like I said. If you don't agree with them, that's totally fine. I figured I would just show you guys exactly what I use to get to floor 750 with my current damage and all that types of stuff. So there you go. There's all the abilities I use. Hopefully it helped. That's pretty much all to the best abilities to use. I showed you a ton of good abilities to definitely use in dungeon and what I actually use personally, and for guardian mode as well. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully you found it helpful. If you guys have any questions about this video and or Brave Order in general, then let me know in the comments section down below. Without further ado, this is the end of the video, so make sure to smash the like button to show me that you enjoyed it. Click that big red subscribe button to support the channel, and click the notification bell to never miss an upload. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll catch you guys all in the next video. Peace out, everybody.